All right, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at the EFS 10-18mm by Canon, and hopefully you guys like snow because there is going to be a lot of snow in this video. Roll the intro. Alright, so let's start off by looking at some 4K footage shot with this camera and this lens. Now, this is an EFS lens, which means it's meant for APS-C size sensors. So the image that this lens projects onto the sensor is not going to be projected on the full frame sensor. It's going to be projected just on the middle bit, which is equivalent to the APS-C size. So my question is, how will the 4K look out of this camera? And can I shoot in 8K and 4K HQ with this lens? And will it only use the middle part of the sensor instead of the whole sensor? And if so, will I be able to shoot 4K HQ for longer periods of time or 8K for longer period of time before it overheats? And I tested that out and the answer is no. The camera won't let you shoot 4K HQ or 8K with I calls it a crop sensor. I'll display the image here. This is what it says. So you can't use those higher end modes with the EFS lens. But let's look at the 4K we can get with this lens. All right, so back in the warmth, the snow's melted off. And one thing I realized I didn't do while I was out there was talk about what I was going to be doing or introduce everything that I'm doing properly. So I'm gonna do that right now. We are currently filming on the EOS R5 with the 10-18mm. So here we are at the 10 and here we are at 18, and we have digital movie IS-1 on, which means it's cropped in a little bit, so it could get wider if I take that off. But let's talk about that. So the R5 has 4 stabilization techniques and 3 of them can be used in conjunction with each other. So right now, first one is in-body image stabilization. The R5 is the first Canon camera to have that. So if I shake this around a little bit, it should be more or less stable. Next, we have lens IS. So this lens does have image stabilization. So the lens will communicate to the camera and the IBIS will communicate to the camera and the processor will process all that and you'll get a more stable image with lens IS turned on. And apparently there is a way to turn off, because right now when you turn off lens IS, the IBIS also turns off, but there is a way to separate that. And I'm gonna make another video about that. I'm gonna test that a little more. And okay, so next we have, what is it called? Movie digital IS, which we're using right now, and that'll crop in a little bit, and that's a digital IS, so the camera will take the video feed and kind of crop it in to stabilize it in camera. And then you have digital movie IS enhanced, which crops in a little more, but you get an even more stable footage, so it's not as shaky. So right now this is, like I said, digital movie IS with lens IS and IBIS on. And we're gonna go through some footage here that I shot handheld out in the snow, and we're gonna see how stable it looks. Okay, so now we have IBIS on and we have lens IS on. And the one thing I want to say is that the lens is kind of mucked up. I've had to wipe it off because of snowflakes and a little bit of condensation. So it's not going to be sharp. So don't judge this lens on sharpness right now. This is simply image stabilization with this lens. So IBIS on and lens IS on. Okay, so now we have IBIS on, we have lens IS on, and we have digital stabilization 1 out of 2 on. And it should be super steady right now, or as steady as it can be. And how does that look? I'm walking pretty good. Do I need a gimbal, or is this pretty steady? Okay, and this is the other benefit to the 10 to 18mm. We can go super wide, and we have digital IS 2 on with lens IS and IBIS, so it's going to be super cropped in and it's going to be super steady. So how does this look? Is it steady? Does it work? How shaky is the footage? Yeah, so did I mention yet this lens is not weather sealed, but I think it'll be okay. It's just snow, should be all right. It's not rain, but there will be some melt, and hopefully some water doesn't get in there. But the front element is definitely getting covered in snowflakes, and I don't think that's going to demonstrate the lens in its best possible light. All right, so we're back on the 10 to 18mm. No snow. It's looking a little nicer out. It's a little warmer, which is good. So here we are. This is what the footage looks like unsharpened, right out of camera. And the camera's tracking my eye, so my eye should be in focus. And this is what it looks like with my color grade on it. So that's what you get. Now this lens in general is pretty sharp. It when you convert it from an APS-C to a full frame, it goes from an f 6.8 to 8.5, so that's the range. So it'll give you a nice wide depth of field, so everything should be in focus, which is why it's such a good vlogging lens. And also the 10 to 18, again, that's for APS-C. In a full frame conversion, that's a 16 to 29mm lens, so that's not bad. So we got 16mm, 29, and the whole thing weighs 233 grams, which makes it perfect for vlogging. Downside is obviously it's a plastic build, so you know, you don't want to drop it, but for a plastic build lens, it's pretty sharp, it's pretty versatile. Right now we are using it with digital, what is it called? Canon has these weird names. It's Movie Digital IS. So we have lens IS, we have in-body image stabilization. Here I'm about to take a big step down. Was it shaky? Was it good? Did it work? Yeah, so the thing is at f 6.8, everything's going to be in focus, but the downside is you're not going to get very cinematic footage. So if you're buying this lens for landscapes, it's a nice landscape lens you can throw in your bag and get some good shots, and it's not going to weigh you down, especially if you're backpacking around. It's good for vlogging. But if you want to do cinematic type stuff, you're not going to get those bokeh balls, you're not going to get that blurry background, it's not going to look very cinematic. So just keep that in mind. It's more of a very good vlogging lens, and so far I can say I'm really happy with it. Okay, so one of the nice things about this lens is you can screw filters onto the front of it, which is really nice. The other thing too is, hold on, let's see how quiet we can make it. Just listen. So we just focused on the background and then back to my face, and you don't hear anything because the STM motor on this lens is super silent. I don't think I've ever actually heard the lens focus at all, which is a super positive thing, especially if you're vlogging. You don't want to be, you know, trying to tell your story and all you hear is zzz. The other nice thing about this lens is it's kind of great if you're vlogging with an EOS R, because the EOS R has that cropped in 4K mode, and this lens is already APS-C, so it fits perfectly with that cropped 4K mode. So if you want a nice wide angle lens to vlog with an EOS R, this lens is the one for you. All right, so for those of you who know me, you know I'm into plants, and I got a lot of plants at the studio, and I have a channel dedicated to plants, and on that channel I filmed the video entirely with the 10 to 18mm lens. So if you want to go check that out, a little bonus footage there if you click on the link in the description. All right, vlogging test wouldn't be complete unless we tried a night vlog. So here we are at f5 vlogging at night under street lights. What does it look like? Is it clean? Does it look good? ISO is set to auto right now, so I don't know. Let's see. Let's set it manually so I know where it's at. Okay, so ISO is at 12,800 right now. It's probably going to come out pretty grainy, but can you vlog with it? Does it look good? I guess I'll see when I take a look on the computer. Just look at that. Look at that. Doesn't it look pretty cool? I love the snow. I love the snow. It's awesome. Hopefully you can see that here in this wide angle lens. It's just trees and snow and all these interesting little textures. So yeah, now that we're done with the video portion of this review, let's take a look at some photos and see what kind of photos we can take with this lens in this situation here in the park. Now, there's a contrast between like the bark and the snow, so it's like white and dark, but there isn't a lot of like sun contrast, so there's no shadows, highlights and lowlights and that kind of thing. But we'll see what we can do. We'll get creative and we'll take a look at the photos. Okay, so if you've ever played Fallout 4, you'll totally get this. I looked over a fence, I saw this setup, and I'm like, yep, that's definitely Fallout 4 material right there. I had to snap a shot. And here we have a little urban composition. I was trying to create a little unity with all the horizontal and vertical lines, and of course you got that grungy texture and everything. Looks kind of cool. I like it. For this shot, I tried to make a play on all the horizontal lines. You got the snow, the bikes, the mural, the power lines, the sky, and you can see a little vignette starting to creep in on the corners there. And you can see here by f8 the vignette is gone, and this lens in a full frame equivalent is 16mm, and I'm taking advantage of the 16mm here to get a nice wide shot. And this is a cool shot. I like the feel of this shot and the mood, and I like all the vertical lines from the tree trunks and then the chaos and the branches above, and I thought that came out pretty cool. And I did pretty much the same thing with this shot, except I put a path on the right side, and your eye gets kind of caught on the path and follows it into the forest. Adds a little bit of mystery and intrigue to the photo. This shot I totally messed up. I don't know how I changed my camera to ISO 800, but the R5 is pretty cool, man. I was able to bring back a lot of the detail and save the shot, so that's pretty impressive. With this shot, I was trying to make a play or try and capture those the car tracks leading off into the distance. Nice contrast between the fresh snow and the slushy tracks. And yeah, that's that. And this is a pretty classic composition. All the leading lines are leading right into infinity, right in the middle of the frame. So no matter where you look, it catches your eye and leads it right to the middle of the photo. Pretty cool, right? And here we have the opposite composition, so all the leading lines are converging onto the viewer instead of going off into infinity. It's pretty cool, and I really like that person on the right side kind of walking off into the distance. I feel like that really ties the shot together. Alright, and there it is, the EFS 10-18 IS STM. That's a beauty right there, and you can see on the back that is a 100% plastic build, including the bayonet mount, so you definitely don't want to be dropping this lens, because I don't think you'll even bother picking it up again. If you drop it, just leave it there, walk away, because yeah, so anyway, like I mentioned earlier in the review, this lens is amazing. It's lightweight, portable, so if you're shooting landscapes and things, you want a light lens to throw in your backpack and walk around. Perfect lens. There it is there on the EOS R. That's what it looks like, and if you're vlogging with it, super lightweight, like you can, yeah, I don't want to throw it too high, but yeah, it's a super lightweight lens, really affordable, and you can pick it up used. I picked up this one, $300 used online on Kijiji. You could probably find it for a lot less now. People are just tossing these away. They're like, oh, you know what? I want that RF 15-35. We're just gonna get rid of this. But you know what? Honestly, if your primary focus is vlogging and you want something that's lightweight and portable, this is definitely better than the RF 15-35, simply for weight. The one place where the RF 35 excels is it's weather sealed, so if you're doing landscapes or vlogging in the rain, or in conditions where you need weather sealing, it's better. And also if you want a more cinematic look, this thing at f5.6 or equivalent 6.8 equivalent aperture, it's going to give you a huge depth of field, right? So if you want that cinematic look, you're not going to get it with this lens. You're just going to get a really good lightweight vlogging lens that you can pack and put in your pocket and take it around, and you won't even notice you have it. So this lens definitely for vloggers and landscapers. This lens is good for landscapers if you want to go shoot some landscapes or cityscapes and you just want a light portable lens to carry around with you, and you don't necessarily want to drop all that money on that 15-35 RF. Right here, this is the one for you. All right, and with that being said, this review is now over. All right, and that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this little mini review on the 10 to 18mm. I think this EFS lens is still very usable as a vlogging lens in 2021. I'm pretty happy with the quality. I'm pretty happy with the range and the wideness, and I think that 10mm is super awesome, especially if you're going to be using digital IS, which crops in on things. So yeah, I like this lens. Glad I picked it up. And if you like this kind of stuff, definitely subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing more lens reviews, gear reviews. We're going to be doing tutorials in Photoshop and Lightroom and Premiere Pro. So yeah, if you like that stuff, subscribe. Here's my Twitter and my Instagram if you want to give me a follow there too. And yeah, that's it. Peace out. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.